Welcome back. Well, Pakistan is one country that's deeply worried about closer ties between Israel and India. Both countries view Pakistan as their common enemy and are worried about Islamabad's nuclear capability and the rise of Islamic militancy. Pakistan has always expressed its concern over the growing Indo-Israeli defence cooperation, which it says has a destabilising effect in the region. Islamabad has warned that the ongoing sale of ultra-modern and strategic weaponry by Israel to India could disturb the balance of power in South Asia. Well, let's rejoin our guests now in New Delhi. Commodore Uday Bhaskar, security expert and former director of the Institute for Defence Studies. In Tel Aviv, Felix Frisch, military correspondent for the Maariv Daily. And joining us for the first time from Karachi, Ikram Segal, a defence analyst and a former major in the Pakistani army. Gentlemen, welcome to the programme. Ikram Segal in Karachi, let me start with you, if I may. Pakistan says growing Indian-Israeli relations will destabilise the region. Why is Islamabad so worried, do you think?
Well, you know, the range of military equipment that Israel is helping India with is of concern to Pakistan. And it is not one-off. It started back in 1963 and it developed in the last few years considerably. And it has infantry weapons, it encompasses Air Force, it encompasses Navy, it encompasses missile program, and there's a suspicion also of a cooperation in the nuclear program. Now, obviously, Israel has had very developed indigenous military capability, and it has, because of its own security concerns, but passing on these things to India and helping India develop its own military capability imbalances Pakistan, which has a dearth of sources from where to get its weapons from. Pakistan always has a problem where India does not have a problem of getting end-user certificates or anything like that when it gets from Israel. Obviously, particularly the Falcon radar system, which Israel has given, the fast patrol boats, the helping out in the Trishul, the Nag, the Agni missile programs, helping out in the light combat aircraft program, even in the main battle tanks, the radars, particularly, and on the ground cooperation in which they say anti-terrorist, anti-Islamic forces. Obviously Pakistan has an interest in Kashmir, and that is directly affecting Pakistan. Now let us understand the difference. Pakistan has not yet passed on any of its technology, at least state to state, to any of Israel's enemies, which are Pakistan's friends. But Israel is passing on a lot of its equipment and technology and know-how to India. Of course, this worries Pakistan. Now, Pakistan, of course, I believe that Pakistan should have a great rapprochement with Israel. Pakistan should recognize Israel. Pakistan should have relations with Israel, but it does not, because if it does so, the Arab countries will come down like a ton of bricks on Pakistan.
Okay.
Whereas India gets away with it, because India, like our Israeli person said, that India is a great country and it does not really care that much as Pakistan does.
Okay, well, let's put a similar point to Commodore Uday Bhaskar in New Delhi. There's always been this arms race between Pakistan and India. I mean, does Islamabad think that Israel could tip the scales in favour of India?
You know, I want to correct some of these assertions that are being made. First of all, I'm not very convinced that there is the kind of arms race, Darren, that you're suggesting. Pakistan and India have really pursued what you might call as independent security policies. For instance, for many decades, Pakistan has had a very close relationship with China, which is an extension of the political relationship that obtains between China and Pakistan. For a variety of reasons, Pakistan has also been a recipient of considerable amount of American military aid. Now, this is the way Pakistan perceives its own security requirements. And therefore, as an analyst, I believe that it has a right to pursue whatever it thinks it needs. Now, in the case of India, when Major Sehgal says that India and Israel are engaging in a relationship that can destabilize what is happening now, that sounds very odd. Because as far as India is concerned, we are not seeking any kind of parity with Pakistan. India has its own requirements. And the suggestion that if India were to modernize its armed forces, that this could lead to some kind of a negative impact, frankly, is not a valid proposition.
Okay,
and
well,
I was also quite surprised by this assertion. Darren, I want to finish this.
Okay, all right.
This question about terrorism. You know, anti-terrorism today is a global objective. For Pakistan to take exception when India and Israel have any kind of cooperation in anti-terrorism operations, that's frankly very odd at this point in time.
Okay, let's get a view now from Felix Frisch there in Tel Aviv. I mean, should Pakistan, do you think, be worried about this friendship? And how much does Washington pull the strings behind these multi-billion-dollar deals that we were talking about earlier?
Well, I believe first that the U.S. Isn't really pleased of the military cooperation between India and Israel because Israel's industries compete the American companies in the Indian market. So I'm not sure they're really encouraging it. Another point I wanted to refer to is the danger that Israel sees in Pakistani nuclear technology to leak to other states which are really or close enemies of Israel, not like Pakistan, which is far away and not really considered an enemy. For example, the Pakistani nuclear technology leaked to Libya several years ago, and afterwards the Libyan president just gave it up in order to be recognized again by US and Britain and the international community. So this is the main concern of Israel about Pakistan. I don't know about any cooperation between Israel and India in this matter, but this is from what I know, the only Pakistani angle of the Israeli defense politics or policy.
Okay, let's bring in back Ikram Segal there in Karachi. I mean, because India recently decided to jointly develop a new generation of surface-to-air missiles, which I think Felix Frisch was talking about in Tel Aviv earlier. How threatening are those missiles to Pakistan, do you think?
Well, I don't think the surface-to-air missiles are really threatening. What really worries us is the Falcon airborne radar system. That is very, very worrying. And obviously on the ground there are the enhancement of the capabilities of various armaments that India has been producing indigenously. Then the light combat aircraft, particularly the heads-up system, which they're giving in the inertial navigation system, etc. Now, I want to go back to what Commander Bhaskar said. It's very naive of Commander Bhaskar to talk about, India's security needs. All the wars after 1962 that India has fought is with Pakistan. And in 2002, 90% of Indian defense forces were deployed against Pakistan, including its air forces. Therefore, Pakistan, we always believe that our nuclear technology is India-specific, and we say that openly, and that is to counter India, and it does not meant for anybody else. Where India, of course, says that it has a larger threat, and we accept that. But when it engages in an armed base, we would be naive to assume that that would not be utilized against us. And nobody wants to engage in an arms race in India, and that is absolutely wrong. And I think the last few years we've tried to play it down. But if you take in technology and bring in technology that threatens our security needs, then we will have to take appropriate action.
All right, let's just put that point, okay, because we're slightly running out of time. We're slightly running out of time. Let's just put that point back to Commodore Bashkar in New Delhi, because in terms of regional concerns, Commodore, which countries or alliances do you think will be most worried about this growing relationship between Israel and India? Briefly.
Very briefly, I think that this should not cause the kind of concern anywhere else in the region, except, as you can see, in Pakistan. But Darren, I just want to add this point. It's interesting that Major Sehgal should think that this is a naive perspective. On one hand, he agrees that India's threat spectrum is not Pakistan specific. I mean, he concedes that point. If that is the case, then whatever India is acquiring in terms of modernization is something that would flow logically. The challenge for India and Pakistan is to work on confidence building measures, which the two countries are trying to do. And most importantly, I think what Felix said just now a little while ago, Pakistan's own track record in exporting nuclear technology, WMD know-how, as we have seen in the AQ Khan episode, is the kind of concern that every country in the region feels. So I think for Pakistan at this point, it is necessary to stabilize the bilateral relationship and accept the fact that India has a threat spectrum that is not Pakistan specific, and the cooperation with Israel is really a part of the attempt to modernize its existing military inventory.
Okay, let me get
I think to seek this constant parity would not be a valid proposition.
Okay, let me get a final thought in from Felix Frisch in Tel Aviv. I mean, many people point out, Felix, that Arab countries, they appear to be weak at the moment. Would any Arab country be willing or even able to punish India for its friendship with Israel?
Well, as I said before, I'm not sure any one of them should do so or willing to do so. I think they have more close and closer and more serious troubles with their economies. I think an Arab country which has a good relationship with India shouldn't jeopardize or shouldn't put it in risk because of Israeli cooperation with military cooperation with India. I think that wouldn't be so wise of them.
Commodore Bashkar, back in New Delhi again. I mean, both countries suffer from insurgencies by occupied people. Israel, of course, with the Palestinians, and India with Kashmiri militants. Do you think that synergy has helped grow the relationship between Tel Aviv and New Delhi? Briefly, if you will.
Well, briefly, I would say that yes, India and Israel do have a corresponding security interest. This is where I do not agree with the way in which your reporter had spoken about convergent security interests. India and Israel do not have convergent security interests, but we have a certain correspondence, and it is really about the pattern of terrorism. And let me add here, Darren, that perhaps even Pakistan today has got a very serious internal challenge as far as religious radicalism and terrorism are concerned. This is exactly what General Musharraf and now Ms. Benazir Bhutto are also trying to grapple with. So this is where I believe again that there is a regional pattern. And India and Israel definitely, I think, have a shared interest in trying to manage this at two different ends of the region. India in South Asia, Israel where it's located. And let me add, there are other Arab countries also who share a similar concern. So I think we are moving towards shared security challenges, and we have to find the best way forward in this.
Okay, gentlemen, on that note, we have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Commodore Uday Bashkar in New Delhi, Ikram Segal in Karachi, and Felix Frisch in Tel Aviv. Thank you all very much indeed for your thoughts. And thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. We welcome your comments and your suggestions. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. From the whole team here, goodbye for now.